In the heart of West Africa, where the mighty rivers carve their ancient paths through dense green forests and sleepy villages cling to their banks like children to a mother's skirt, there exists a spirit older than the oldest baobab, more beautiful than the rarest moonrise, and more dangerous than the deepest current. Her name shifts with the tongue that speaks it. Mame Water in Ghana, Mamba Muntu in the Congo, but across Nigeria and beyond, she is known simply as Mami Wata, Mother Water. They say she was here long before the first fishermen cast their nets, long before the traders brought mirrors and combs from distant lands. Some believe her image was shaped by a traveling circus poster centuries ago, a snake charmer woman with flowing hair and hypnotic eyes, that somehow merged with the ancient river goddesses worshipped by the people. Others swear she is pure African, born from the foam where river meets sea, a spirit who embodies everything the water represents: life-giving, seductive, unpredictable, and merciless. Mami Wata does not walk among us like ordinary beings. She appears in dreams, in reflections, in the shimmer of sunlight on a still pond. She carries a mirror in one hand and a comb in the other, symbols of vanity, of beauty, of the temptation to gaze too long at oneself. Snakes coil lovingly around her arms, for she is both healer and destroyer. She offers wealth, beauty, love, power, but always at a price. And the price is paid in souls pulled silently beneath the surface, in lives quietly erased by the river's gentle embrace. Villages along the coast and river still leave offerings for her: bottles of perfume, sweets, white cloth, mirrors, because to anger Mami Wata is to invite misfortune that no sangoma can cure. And yet, despite the warnings whispered by grandmothers to wide-eyed children, despite the elders' grave tales around evening fires, people still seek her out. Desperation makes us brave. Or foolish. This is the story of one such person. Her name was Yewanda. Yewanda lived in a small riverside village called Ikoyelu, where the Ogun River wound lazily past thatched huts and yam farms before joining the greater waters beyond. She was 23, with skin the color of rich cocoa and eyes that held a quiet sadness, like rain clouds gathering on a clear day. Her beauty was spoken of in neighboring villages, but beauty had done little to ease her burdens. Her father had drowned in a sudden flood when she was 12. His fishing canoe overturned in calm waters, they said, though no one could explain why. Since then, her mother had fallen ill, a wasting sickness that no herbalist could name, leaving Yewanda to care for her younger brother, Tund, and keep the family from starving. She sold fish at the market, wove baskets late into the night, and fetched water at dawn, her back aching under the weight of clay pots. Suitors came and went, drawn by her looks, but none stayed once they saw the poverty that shadowed her home. Yewanda had heard the stories of Mami Wata all her life. The elders warned that she lured men with promises of gold and women with promises of beauty beyond imagining. Never follow strange lights on the water, they said. Never accept gifts from reflections that speak. But Yewanda was tired. Tired of hunger. Tired of sickness. Tired of watching her mother fade while Tund grew thinner by the day. On the evening everything changed. The sky was heavy with the promise of rain, and the river ran high and dark, swollen from storms upstream. Yewanda had gone farther than usual along the bank, searching for a quiet spot to wash clothes away from the village gossip. The air smelled of wet earth and distant thunder. Reeds rustled softly, and fireflies began their early dance above the water. As she knelt to scrub a faded wrapper, something caught her eye, a faint glimmer beneath the roots of an ancient iroko tree that leaned over the river like a watchful guardian. Curious, she pushed aside the mud and vines. There, half buried, lay an object unlike any she had seen, a mirror framed in carved ivory, its surface flawless despite years, or perhaps centuries, in the earth. Serpentine patterns twisted around the edge, and when she lifted it, the glass seemed to pulse faintly with its own light. She should have left it. Every story screamed at her to bury it again, to run home and tell the elders. But the weight of her life pressed down, and curiosity won. Yewande wiped the frame clean with the hem of her wrapper and held the mirror up. At first, she saw only her own tired face staring back. Then the surface rippled, like water disturbed by a pebble, and the reflection changed. A woman appeared, breathtaking, otherworldly. Her skin glowed like moonlight on waves. Her hair fell in long, dark rivers adorned with cowrie shells and pearls. Around her neck hung chains of gold, and in her hand she held a comb of pure silver. A massive python coiled affectionately around her shoulders, its eyes gleaming with intelligence. This was no ordinary woman. This was Mami Wata herself, smiling gently from within the glass. Yewande's breath caught. She tried to drop the mirror, but her fingers refused to obey. The spirit's voice came then, not through the air, but inside her mind, soft and melodic like the river's song. "Yewande," it said, knowing her name though she had spoken none. "Child of sorrow, bearer of burdens too heavy for young shoulders. I have watched you struggle. I know the ache in your heart. What do you desire most in this world?" Yewande's lips trembled. "My mother's health," she whispered. "Food for my brother. A life without constant want." The spirit tilted her head, the python shifting lazily. "All this and more can be yours. Wealth that never runs dry. Beauty that turns every head. Love that burns eternal. Gaze upon me, Yewande. Let your eyes linger and accept my gift." A warning bell rang in Yewande's mind. Every tale ended in tragedy for those who accepted. But the spirit's eyes were kind, almost maternal, and the promise of relief was intoxicating. Slowly, against every instinct, Yewande looked deeper into the mirror. The world around her faded, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of a night bird, the cool mud beneath her knees. There was only the reflection, pulling her in like a gentle current. When she finally blinked and looked away, night had fallen. The river lapped quietly at the bank, and fireflies danced thicker than before. Yewande stumbled home, the mirror clutched to her chest, hidden beneath her wrapper. Her mother sat up in bed when she entered the hut, eyes bright, cheeks flushed with sudden strength. "Yewande, I feel hungry," the woman said, astonished. On the mat outside the door lay a woven basket filled with yams, plantains, dried fish, and a small pouch heavy with coins, enough to feed them for months. The village whispered of miracles. Yewande said nothing of the mirror, hiding it beneath her sleeping mat. But joy was tempered by unease. That night, she dreamed of dark waters closing over struggling figures, of hands reaching up from the depths. The gifts continued. Each evening, Yewande would wait until the hut was quiet, then pull out the mirror. Mami Wata would appear, smiling, urging her to gaze again. And each time Yewande did, something new arrived. Fine cloth from the market with no memory of purchase, gold jewelry that appeared on her pillow, suitors suddenly bold and devoted. Her mother grew strong enough to tend the garden again. Tun's ribs no longer showed. Yewande herself changed. Her skin took on a luminous quality. Her hair grew thicker and shinier, her eyes brighter. People said she had been blessed by the gods. But the river began to claim its price. First it was an old fisherman from upstream, found floating face down though the waters had been calm. Then a young woman who vanished while bathing at dusk. The elders muttered of omens, of displeased spirits. Yewande felt the chill each time news arrived, remembering the spirit's words about balance, about the river giving and taking. She tried to stop using the mirror, burying it beneath the iroko tree one desperate afternoon. But that night, her mother relapsed, coughing blood onto the mat, and Tund woke screaming from nightmares of drowning. By morning, the mirror was back under her bed, clean and waiting. The spirit's visits grew longer. Mami Wata spoke of her underwater palace, of halls paved with coral and gold, of eternal youth and pleasure. "You could join me," she whispered. "Leave behind mortality's pain. Become my companion, my daughter, my bride in the deep." Yewande resisted, but the temptation gnawed at her. And the deaths continued. Always drownings, always people connected to her in some small way. The woman who once lent her money, the boy who carried her water pots, the herbalist who treated her mother. One moonless night, as rain drummed steadily on the thatched roof and the river roared in full flood, Yewande confronted the mirror. Her mother and brother slept deeply, drugged by exhaustion. The spirit appeared instantly, more radiant than ever, the python's eyes glowing like embers. "Why the deaths?" Yewande demanded, voice shaking. "You promised help, not harm." Mami Wata's smile never wavered. "Every gift requires balance, child. The river gives life, but life must return to the river. Those souls nourish me, strengthen the bond between us. One day soon you will understand. You will join me willingly." Terror gripped Yewande. She saw it now. The spirit's eyes held not kindness but hunger. She hurled the mirror across the hut. It struck the wall and shattered into a dozen pieces, each shard reflecting a fragment of the smiling face. Blood ran from Yewande's cut palm, dripping onto the fragments. Silence fell, broken only by rain. Then the shards began to glow. One by one, they slid across the earthen floor like living things, reassembling with soft clicks. Within moments the mirror lay whole again, unmarred. Mami Wata's laughter echoed inside Yewande's skull. "You cannot break what is eternal, my sweet. You are already mine." Yewande fled into the storm, barefoot, wrapper plastered to her skin. The village slept unaware. She ran to the riverbank, to the ancient Iroko, intending to cast the mirror into the deepest current. But when she arrived, the water had risen unnaturally high, lapping at the tree's roots. Figures moved beneath the surface, pale faces of the drowned, eyes open, watching her. Among them she recognized the old fisherman, the young woman, the herbalist. They reached upward, not in plea, but in welcome. Behind her, soft footsteps squelched in the mud. Yewande turned to see herself walking toward her. Same face, same body, but with glowing emerald eyes and wet hair streaming like river weeds. The doppelganger smiled Mami Wata's smile and held out a perfect, unbroken mirror. "It is time," the figure said in Yewande's own voice. Yewande screamed, but the river answered with a roar. Vines from the iroko tree whipped out, wrapping gently but firmly around her wrists and ankles. They pulled her toward the water as the doppelganger stepped aside, bowing. The drowned rose higher, hands breaking the surface, grasping her clothes, her hair. Cold water closed over her head, filling her lungs with the taste of earth and secrets. The last thing Yewande saw was Mami Wata herself rising from the depths. Beautiful, terrible, arms open in embrace. The spirit pressed the mirror to Yewande's chest, and the glass warmed against her skin like a second heart. They say the drownings stopped after that night. The village prospered strangely. Fish became plentiful, crops abundant. Yewande's mother recovered fully and raised Tund in comfort, though she never spoke her daughter's name again. But on certain evenings, when the river runs high and the mist rises thick, fishermen claim to see a beautiful woman standing on the bank beneath the iroko tree. She holds an ivory-framed mirror, combing long wet hair that gleams with pearls. Her eyes glow faintly green, and she smiles at passers-by, inviting them closer. Some cannot resist. They step into the shallows to see what reflects back at them. And sometimes, they are never seen again. Because Mami Wata always needs new companions in her palace beneath the waves. And the mirror is always waiting for the next desperate soul willing to gaze just a little too long. So if you ever find an old mirror by a river, especially one that feels warm to the touch, walk away. Don't look into it. Don't listen if it calls your name. Because some gifts come with a price you can never finish paying. Did Mami Wata's mirror tempt you even a little? Comment. I looked in the mirror. If this story scared you. And subscribe for more real African folklore horrors that will keep you up at night.